Today's show is going to be amazing. I'm excited to share with you 10 leadership lessons that I have learned. Get prepared for a great show. I thank you so much for being a part of Leadership Matters podcast. I am Darrick McGhee, by the way. Look forward to it. Stay tuned. It's going to be great. Welcome back to another episode of Leadership Matters. I am Darrick McGhee. Welcome to my podcast and our conversation. I created Leadership Matters because I do believe that leadership matters. And I've been blessed and fortunate to be put in several leadership positions in my career, but also in life and in the pastorate. And there are things that I have learned along this journey that I think is worthwhile and is worth sharing. And so I am grateful for the opportunity to have this platform to share. Now, listen, I'm going to ask you a few things at the outset. If you would not mind, if you would share this podcast recording with other persons, I would greatly appreciate it. These are pre-recorded. We're going to venture into live broadcast. As of right now, these are pre-recorded and then posted to YouTube and LinkedIn. And I do that on purpose so that we can build the platform as it needs to be before we actually decide to go live in our broadcast. But that is our desire. So for this month, I want to share with you some tangible nuggets that I think will be very helpful. Our topic is 10 lessons I have learned in leadership. 10 lessons I have learned in leadership. Now listen, it's important for you to hear what I just said. 10 lessons I have learned. You may not agree with these 10 lessons, but I've learned them, and I want to share with you these 10 lessons because I think that they are critically important for all leaders. Now, let's remember there's a difference between being a leader and being a manager, right? There are some persons on your job, you're in a management position, right? You are a supervisor of people based on an org chart, based on a job description in that regard, but you are a manager, and you can manage people and not have leadership skills. But every leader should be able to manage people. Can I say that to you again? You can have a management position and lack leadership skills. But if you are a leader, you ought to know how to manage people. And that's important. And for some of you, you can be a leader submitted to and or burdened by a person in a position who is not a leader. And there are some who have experienced this. But I want to share with you 10 lessons I have learned in leadership. And this is over the course of 26 years in Christian ministry, 16 of those years almost 16 years of those as a pastor, 25 years in government consulting, both in public sector and private sector, several years, over 10 years of entrepreneurship, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so I'm not coming to you as someone who has copied and pasted what somebody else has said. These are lived experiences. These are realities. These are me observing other people I think to be really good leaders, right? Because you can learn from other leaders, right? Some things are taught, other things are caught, right? Some things are intentionally taught to you by a mentor. Other things are caught by observation of people. I said in the previous episode, I'll say in this one, you can learn even from bad leadership, right? You can learn good, tangible lessons even from bad leadership. But we don't want to be bad leaders, right? We want to be mindful of that. So let's delve into it. Lesson number 1, leadership is service, not status. Leadership is service, not status. I wish we could learn this, right? No matter what your title is, leader, it's service, it's not status. If you are more concerned about how people can serve you versus how you can serve them, that is going to be a challenge for you and for the people you try to lead, right? You have to understand, I am a leader who's supposed to serve. I believe the greatest servant leader is Jesus Christ, right? That's, I think, as that motto, my faith teaches me that. But if you look at that motto, the greatest leader is a servant leader. You serve with a servant's heart. You serve with the intention and the desire to lead people, right? Real influence comes from lifting others up, not elevating yourself. And there are some leaders in every stage of politics, in every stage of business, every stage of government, every stage of life, who makes it always about him or herself and not about the people in whom they service. Consider this. If you take care of your people in turn will take care of you. I know it sounds so simple, and yet it's very profound. If you take care of your people in turn will take care of you. Because leadership is service and it's not status. And I was blessed to learn this very early on in my career through observation, that leadership is service, not status. If you take care of your people, they in turn will take care of you. If you give them a workplace that is not toxic, if you give them the support, both moral, right, as well as vocal, they'll work very hard for you. If you make priority their family and what matters to them, I'm not telling you to pacify them, but if you have an employee who under your leadership is dealing with some personal matters or a parental matter or a marital matter, they're going to bring that to work. No matter how disciplined or trained they are, they're going to bring it to work. And that sometimes it can affect their work product. And so if you are observant and discerning of that, how you handle that person in that season of their life speaks volumes about you, but also it'll speak volumes about how they respond and react um, going forward toward the workplace, towards your leadership. So remember, leadership is service, not status. Lesson number 2, it should always be people over process. It should always be people over process. Systems matter, but people matter more. And I am one who's all about systematic structure, right? So I'm not in any way telling you to tear down the walls of your system, right? You have to have something that creates the governance, the template, of how things are going to operate. However, it's critically important to know when forced to choose, prioritize relationships, right? Always think about that. There are some people whose skill sets are so tremendous that if you're so confined to your systematic structure, you can stunt their growth and their contribution, right? Relationship matters. It still matters. I don't care how many degrees you have. I don't care how many relationships how many contacts you think you have. It's relationships. Relationships will open doors for you that your resources cannot open, right? That's critically important. When you can send someone to see someone else and tell them, I sent you, and based on you sending them, based on your name, based on your character, that door is open. Ladies and gentlemen, it's very important, right? It should always be people over process, because people are the ones who make the process work. And so if you're more focused on your process and not the people, you will not have a process that's effective. But if you make people more important, they'll help implement the process and keep that process systematically working at its height. It should always be people over process. People matter. People matter. People matter. The same way leadership is service, people matter. And how you handle people matter. There is not a leader who's ever ascended to any level of success that can ever say that he or she did it by themselves. No, people matter. People who do not get credit for the success that you have should not be overlooked. There's no one who's ascended to the height of the mountain that can say they got there by themselves. I don't care how many people know your name, how many awards you achieve. I don't care about any of that. Along your path, someone or someone's helped you out, right? That person you encountered who gave you a word of encouragement, to that person who mentored you and challenged you and stretched you, right? It should always be people over process. Lesson number 3, clarity is key. Clarity is key. Clarity is key. Now listen to me. I'm talking about clear vision, clear communication, clear direction. Just because you say it doesn't mean it's clear in what you are saying. May I say it to you again? Just because you say it doesn't mean it's clear in what you are saying. By nature, I am a fast talker, right? I have to train myself and discipline myself to slow down when I am communicating. I can talk fast to the point to where I can begin to stutter because I'm trying to say it so fast. And once I've said it, I can be pleased with what I'm saying. It doesn't mean that the hearer of what I'm saying actually clearly understood what I was trying to say. Clarity is key. Unclear expectations create frustration, ladies and gentlemen. Unclear expectations create frustration. Leaders never say these words. They know what I meant. That's not true. That's not true. It's like being a pastor, as I am, and you take your text and begin to preach, and you say, turn to a very familiar passage of scripture. We all know it. You just made a general, exaggerated statement with no factual evidence. There is at least one person in that room that does not know the text you just lifted, which means we all do not know it. As a leader, clarity is key. Clear vision, clear communication, clear direction, right? What is the vision? Make it plain, right? The scripture says, write the vision, make it plain, right? Clear communication. What are you saying as a leader? And most importantly, what am I hearing as a follower? And clear direction. Where are you taking us? Where are you taking us? People are never going to be okay with you saying, just follow me and trust me. No, especially if that person has had a history of being taken advantage of. He or she's not just going to trust you. They're going to need some stuff on the front end. By nature, I don't like these statements being made. I need to talk to you later. No, let's talk right now. Don't leave me to wonder the tone and tenor of the future conversation. Let's talk right now, right? Don't do that to me, right? And that's a trigger for me from growing up. My mama said, when I get home, I'm gonna discipline you. So now the entire day I'm stressing about this said punishment. No, let's deal with this in the moment we're in, because later on I may not be desiring to have this conversation. Clarity is key. Just because you said it doesn't mean I heard what you're trying to say. And for me, I have learned I need to communicate with people face to face, because although I deem myself to be a really good writer, when you send someone a text or an email, you think you're saying something with clarity, but what you are saying in writing and what they're reading based on what you wrote can be two different things. And it's easy to misconstrue what you think you clearly have said. So clarity is key. Number 4, you set the tone as the leader. You set the tone as a leader. When things are at as heightened level, or things are at a desert level, people are looking at you wondering how you're going to react or respond to this. You set the tone. The workplace, the tone in the workplace is based on you. Now, listen, you may be a unit in a bureau that's in a division, that's in a department, right? And you can't control the department, the division, or the bureau. But if you are a leader in that unit, you can set a piece in that unit that others outside your unit can realize, man, something's going on over there. The tone matters, but also the tone of the atmosphere, but also the tone of your voice. No grown person wants to be talked down to like they're a child. No grown person wants to be talked down to like they're a child. Leaders, listen to me now. Your attitude, your work ethic, your emotional control, it shapes the culture. Like it or not, it does. You do. The people will come to work carrying the burdens of their personal lives and expect you as a leader to be understanding. The same people will not understand how you as leader bring your personal matters to work. I understand it's hypocritical. I get it. And I also agree with you that it's hypocritical. Having said that, when you ascend to leadership, there is an expectation of the followers that you have matured to a level that you can deal with your situations differently. Realize it or not, people are always watching and they're going to mirror what you do. My grandmother used to always say, no matter where you go, no matter what you're doing, somebody's always watching. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? It's factually correct. You're always under observation. They're watching what you say, what you wear, how you speak to people, how you handle people. If you really want to test somebody's character, watch how they treat the staff at a restaurant. Listen to how they speak to the waiter or waitress. Look at how they deal with the busboy or the bus girl. Look how they speak to the host or hostess when they first walk into a restaurant. Look at how they treat people who have nothing to give them equally in return. It's easy to speak professionally and well to the CEO of an organization. How do you speak to the support staff, the custodial staff? How do you speak to the people who are not on your level? Because to me, the true essence of a leader is that conversation, not the other, right? You set the tone as a leader. In every atmosphere that you walk into, you set the tone. And guess what? If I am a member of your church, or if I'm a visitor of your church and I interact with your leadership team, they speak volumes to you. Because if I interact with you as a leader and you are an amazing leader in an organization, I have every right to assume that your C-suite is going to resemble and reflect who you are as a leader. In a church setting, if you are a personable, loving pastor, right, who makes time for his parishioners, I expect that your leadership team exudes that same level of characteristic based on who you are as a leader. It's like going to a fast food place, right? I always wonder why they put what seems to be the meanest people with the nastiest attitudes in the position of dealing with their customers. You have them at the drive-through window. You have them at the front counter taking orders, and they're the meanest people. They always have attitudes. Why would you put them in front of your most valuable commodity, which is your customer? And yet these places do it, and they expect you as a paying customer to accept it. You set the tone as a leader. Number 5, growth starts with the leader. 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 I said it 3 times on purpose because you can't lead others further than you've gone yourself. And there are leaders who are trying to set course some places they've never experienced. You haven't seen it, you've never experienced it, and now you want me to trust you that we can go there together. No, no, no. You have to understand that you have the right to have bold, audacious visions and desires, but I'm not going to ever follow a leader on a hope and a prayer. No. Mm-mm. Personal development isn't optional, it's foundational, right? Remember what we said earlier, right? Someone is always watching you. And so they're watching, and people have already bought into you before they bought into your vision. On the other end, people have also already made up their mind they're not going to buy into you. So no matter what you say, they're not listening to what you're saying. Growth starts with the leader. People are watching and observing you as a leader to see how you mature, how you handle matters. And based on how you handle that, they'll then determine if they want to be a part of what you are doing. Remember this now. It could be one person, it can be hundreds of people, thousands of people. However it looks, growth starts with the leader. It does, because a leader can't mature people if the leader hasn't matured. A leader cannot mature people if the leader hasn't matured. We've gotten to number 5. We have 5 more to go. Let me just remind you that we're talking about the 10 lessons I have learned in leadership. The 10 lessons I have learned in leadership, right? Number 1, again, leadership is service, not status. Number 2, it should always be people over process. Number 3, clarity is key. Number 4, you set the tone as the leader. Number 5, growth starts with the leader. We've covered 5 thus far of our 10. Let's press forward. Lesson number 6, difficult conversations are necessary. Difficult conversations are necessary. Avoiding hard conversations create bigger problems. Now listen, I'm non-confrontational by nature. Now I'll meet you there if I need to meet you there, but I choose not to have to ever go there, especially in a professional setting, right? Let's be mature about situation. No one really, truly, I probably should say that's a very, very bold general statement. Most people, well, there are some people, let me say that's a safer way of saying it, who are not comfortable with difficult conversations. They don't choose difficult conversations. And here is why. Because some people can't handle receiving it, right? I don't mind personally constructive criticism from people who have a history of ever constructing something. Say it again. I do not personally mind constructive criticism from the lips of people who have a history of being constructive. What does that mean? If you have a history of being able to build up people and build up situations, build up things, I don't mind you giving me constructive criticism. But if that's not you, it's not constructive criticism, it's just criticism. And so there's no development in that regard. Address issues early, honestly, with respect, and I would say often, right? Don't let things linger. It's like in a workplace, right? You do an annual evaluation every 12 years, every 12 months, right? But you see that that employee is struggling. You shouldn't wait to the annual evaluation and give that person a 1 or 2 when you could have done a mid-year evaluation to bring about some constructive criticism and help that employee get on a course of betterment, right? It makes no sense to give an employee 4s and 5s when that employee has not exemplified 4s and 5s. When I was in one of my government jobs as chief of staff, I had a supervisor who wanted to terminate an employee, and I've never done this before. I said, give me a copy of their performance evaluation. I want 2 years. They gave me the prior 2 years evaluations. This same supervisor had given this employee all 4s and 5s both years. In the most recent year, that evaluation had been done within the last month or so. How are you justifying firing this employee when their evaluation shows all 4s and 5s? You know anything about a government, state of Florida government evaluation, performance evaluation? 3 means that you're doing your job. And somehow giving 3s is criticized in a negative manner. I don't understand. Anyway, if you give them a 1 or 2, a 4 or 5, you have to give a summary description and reason why you gave them that score. You give them a 1 or 2, which means that they are well below performance. Woe is like you're woefully inadequate at your job. 4 or 5 means that you are exceeding expectations and so on and so forth, right? You have to give a description. This supervisor had written glowing remarks about this employee for 2 consecutive years. A month after the most recent evaluation, they're wanting to fire the employee. You know what I said to that supervisor? Get out of my office. If I let you do this, we'll be sued. This employee had done anything ethically wrong, right? They had a disagreement about something, but this same supervisor had just given glowing comments about this employee. What should have been done is you should have brought that employee in, had a difficult conversation with that employee about whatever he or she had just done, and dealt with the matter at hand. But that's not a fireable offense. But what happens is we deal with it in emotions, and now we want to emotionally react to situations that should be handled professionally. Difficult conversations are necessary. In every setting you're in as a leader, it is necessary. Address issues early, honestly, with respect, and I would say address them often, right? Don't let people linger down a path of wrong and you're watching them go down that path when you could have helped them get reestablished and recalibrated. Lesson number 7, empowerment beats control. Lesson number 7, empowerment beats control. Micromanagement limits growth, right? You hovering over an employee's shoulder and watching everything they do all day long, that's micromanagement. And if you have time to micromanage me, when you have time to actually do your job, because they're not paying you whatever they're paying you for you to be standing over my shoulder all day long. They're wasting money if that's what they're really doing. Empowerment beats control. If you lay out the vision clear, remember we said now lesson number 3, clarity is key. You give a clear vision with clear communication and clear direction, you can then empower me. You don't have to try to control me. Usually when you're trying to control an employee, it's because that leader or that manager is lacking self-esteem. You are now allowing yourself to be insecure about your skill set. Trusting, equipping, releasing people multiplies impact, right? If you speak clearly as to what's expected and you make that known to everyone under your leadership, you have to control them. You can empower them. Lesson number 8, we're near the end now. Lesson number 8, consistency builds credibility. Consistency builds credibility. People trust leaders who are steady, not perfect, but reliable. Say it again. People trust leaders who are steady. You don't have to be perfect, but be reliable. Let your word be your word. Let your character be your character, right? Be consistent about what you're doing. I know it's routine. It may seem robotic. Be consistent, because when they know that you are consistent, you're credible. The people who are under my leadership at the church where I pastor, and in my role as COO at a firm, in my own business, they all know I'm very punctual. We're going to start on time. I don't care what the attendance looks like. If we promote, we're going to have a program at 11 o'clock a.m. 11 o'clock a.m. We've already begun. So when you walk in 11:15, you are 15 minutes late. We're not going to be starting 15 minutes late because of you. I'm all about punctuality. I want to respect somebody else's time, and here is why. I want you to respect my time. And it's a sad commentary to penalize the people who are on time because your ego expects you to have more people there at the start time. No, consistency builds credibility. Small, consistent actions over time will build strong leadership influence. When people know that you are consistent, they usually rise up to a consistent standard that you have set. If a leader is inconsistent, that leader is not credible. If a leader is inconsistent, that leader is not credible. Lesson number 9 of the 10 lessons I have learned. Number 9, failure is a teacher. Yes, it is. Failure is a teacher. Mistakes are inevitable. Let me help you as I've tried to help myself over the years. Everyone's going to make mistakes, but failure does not have to be fatal nor final. Failure does not have to be fatal nor final, but failure is a teacher. What have you learned from the failure? If you look at some of our most wealthiest people that we know about, right? A lot of them, if you read their personal stories, dealt with a lot of failure, right? Some of them filed bankruptcy multiple times, but they finally hit it. Failure is a teacher if you desire to be a student and you learn from it. What matters is learning, adjusting, and leading with humility afterward. What always makes me laugh is leaders who have failed. They finally get on the right path of success, and their ego makes them forget the failures. No, what's made you a really good leader is the lessons you learn along the failures you've experienced. Failure is a teacher. It doesn't have to be fatal. It doesn't have to be final, but it is teaching you. What are you learning from the failures you have experienced? Again, as a reminder, today's topic is 10 lessons I have learned in leadership. Number 10, as we've pressed along, number 10, legacy is greater than achievement. Legacy is greater than achievement. Legacy is greater than achievement. Listen to me now. Great leaders don't just accomplish goals, they develop people who will outgrow them. If I can help any leader, stop stunting the growth of the people who are submitted under your leadership. Whenever they branch off from you, you ought to celebrate them because they are an extension of you in whatever they're doing next. If you do right by people, wherever they go next, they're going to always give you recognition. They're going to always seek your counsel. I have had people work for me throughout the years who still text me and call me and ask me for advice, ask me for a chance to have a coffee conversation. They still want whatever it may be because they valued me as a leader, right? Imagine if my low self-esteem, if my insecurity of as a leader exemplifies itself, right? Now I'm studying their growth, so when they leave, they have a right to speak ill of me. But when you celebrate people, right? Celebrate people. You can't refrain a grown person from leaving. Now, listen, sometimes you don't want them to leave because you don't feel like they really have learned. Some people are going to leave anyway. They're going to leave anyway, right? They may leave prematurely. But most people that are under your leadership, they're going to stay and learn the lessons. Your true success is measured by who you raise up. And I see this, especially in the church setting, right? We don't believe in succession plans, right? We ought to be observing, and most importantly, we ought to be in prayer about who's next, because one of the saddest commentaries is to be an elder pastor and you're still barking the pulpit, pastoring people, and you're not recognizing that maybe it's time to pass the baton. You can still be a preacher. Maybe your pastor is up. It's like being on jobs and that person has served well beyond their years. They just won't go home. And so that young person or that middle-aged person who's ready to be next never gets his or her chance unless they leave because that person won't do it. Legacy is greater than achievement. If it's always about you, never by anybody else, you are a sad leader, and no one should submit to your leadership. Today, I have taught you the 10 lessons I have learned in leadership. You may not agree with the 10. You may identify with one of the 10. Whatever it may be, these lessons I have learned that I'm sharing with you. But regardless of all of that, to every leader that's listening to me, let me say this to you, as I've said many times before. It is very important as a leader for us to understand. Just because you say you are a leader doesn't make you a leader. If you look around and there's no one following you, you're not leading. You're on a long walk all by yourself. So when you think about it, once you take time to think, what have I learned in leadership? What have you learned in leadership? And what makes you think that anybody should follow your leadership? So here's the truth of the matter. Some of you think you're a leader, just a manager. And there's no fault with being a manager. Just know the difference. Because great leaders understand the burden and the responsibility. So make sure, men and women who are leaders, that you remember that people matter. Go lead. This has been the episode of Leadership Matters. I am Darrick McGhee. I am ever grateful, and I am honored for the opportunity to once again spend this time with each one of you. Do me a favor once again, if you will. If you appreciate this, once you like it, and then once you share it, right? We upload this on my YouTube channel, or upload it on my LinkedIn. Please share with other individuals. I'm trying my best to just give nuggets to individuals that I think is very, very important. I'm grateful for your time and for your attention. Now go, leader, do some amazing things. There are people out there who need to know that leadership matters. Blessings.